we're stuck with this format. You don't have to try to read it. It's really the pictures. And I don't know if you want to come closer, but if you can see up at the top of the upper right-hand slide, this is a town of Lakeport. And that's the entrance. You can see all the Kiwanis and the lines and the Rotary signs up there, weeds and, stuff. But this is Lakeport. Look how cute a town it is. Look how neat it is. But the question is you're driving by the highway, 60 miles an hour or more, and you see that, and it says, "Welcome to Lakeport." Are you inclined to stop? First impressions are lasting impressions. And you just keep on going. Why would you even bother to go into that cute little town? They've done nothing to pull you in. Tim? So here we are, Angel's Camp. Look familiar. This is coming in from San Andreas. So from the north, where we get a lot of our tourists come this way. And this is what it looks like. The signage there is, the other one is coming in on 4 that says Angels Camp City Limit. Who really cares where the city limit is? And it doesn't say anything else. It doesn't say historic Angels Camp, 2 miles ahead. These are one of the suggestions that he makes, is that you really need to pull people in. You need to tell them. You need to warn them. You need to entice them. The other thing there is that the signs for the frog jump and the fair are really nice looking signs nowadays. But they've got this vinyl banner sitting there that's got too much text on it that tells about the current event. And so it's hard to read. And then it's sitting in an area where there's lots of junk and debris all around. So what does that say about even the frog jump and the fair? Then the next slide. Here we see Welcome to Angels Camp, which is historic Angels Camp, which is a really nice sign. But what's right beside the sign? So here the sign is saying, "Welcome to historic Angels Camp." And what do we have? We have the trailer park there. And what's across the street, more sort of industrialized type of buildings, plus Middleton Shopping Center. So first impressions are lasting impressions. Let's move on to the next one, because as they see the sign, "Welcome to Historic Angels Camp," the next slide, the next one, this is what they see right in that area. So they see chain link fence, they see vinyl banners, they see sign masts that don't have any signs in them. And what does this say on a first impression? If you drove into a town like this, here's a town on decline. This is really going down. And it doesn't say that there's a historic shopping district or anything ahead. So they thought, and the secret shoppers were making notes that they were in Angels Camp. This was it. So they moved on, and they come to the next intersection, which, of course, one of the things that they noticed as they drove through town is that Angels Camp is the vinyl banner capital of America. And probably that's not the lore we want, because not many of us would really, unless you're into vinyl banners, want to go see the vinyl banner capital. But we have them everywhere. And one of their suggestions is that, and we do have within the Planning Commission a group led by Gary Carletta, who is looking at signage for historic downtown. They said that that's one of the things that the branding committee needs to really work on with the city, is to develop signage guidelines. And there could even be an ordinance about vinyl banners and all these other sorts of things. But this is this is what people see, and they think they're in Angels Camp at this point. Next one, more vinyl banners. They're everywhere. And I have to say that ACB is as guilty as anyone, because of course we've got our Italian Heritage Day and all sorts of spring fling. They said that occasionally you need vinyl banners for events and things, but they shouldn't be up for months. And they should not be the basic, basic advertising, basic signage for a company. And they had some good suggestions about how you can actually do nice signage and put all this information on there. Let's look at the next slide. Here they actually had very high marks for the Christian bookstore because with their signage, there's another part of first impressions, which is curb appeal. Does the building, the shop, the restaurant, draw you in to the store? Does it make you feel welcome? Does it interest you? Now, we just were on a trip in Gatlinburg, Tennessee this past week. Which is Pigeon Forge is the home of Dollywood, which is a real zoo. But occasionally we would see a restaurant or a store that really had curb appeal, and we would go out of all the stuff that was going on there, from Houses of Wax to Carnival rides and everything. But if we would say, now that looks like a nice store, or that looks like a nice restaurant, and that we were actually went to those places to eat. Out of all the mess, we were looking for things. So first impressions are lasting impressions. And they really complimented Christian Bookstore for creating this ambiance in front of the store with some seating, with nice signage, with flowers, and in a very confusing corner where there's a lot going on. They had good curb appeal. They also noted up above that signage should only have 8 words on it, that people have to be able to read it in 4 seconds, and they have to be able to see it. They pointed out with the Frog Jump Motel, if you see all that signage between the speed sign, the motel, there's all kinds of stuff there. They have all their terms and facilities and everything. And as they said, you know, this could be a very nice motel. They don't know, but all they can say is that in looking at this signage, does not have curb appeal. This doesn't look like a quality place to stay. They point out, this is not Angels Camp down below, but here's a shop that has put flowers out, made it appealing, and drawn people in. When Roger Brooks talked about this, he said in getting this store owner to just bring some things outside and make it look nice right out front, that within a month he had emailed Roger to say that investment was really worth it. I paid off my investment and increased profitability by 30% in just 1 month's time. So it really pays, and this whole thing is to bring money into Angels Camp and its businesses. So their suggestions again are to really, maybe we have a committee that will help people develop that curb appeal. It's almost like an interior decorating committee or an exterior decorating committee. But we must go to the next slide, Tim. And that having a clothesline outside, we're going to have a sidewalk sale next weekend. That's a planned event, and that does attract people. But on general terms, just hanging stuff outside is not curb appeal. And in fact, it gives the thrift shop garage sale, street sale appearance, and it really doesn't bring people in that much. So the other suggestion was, and I think you probably would have a hard time seeing it, you'll see the thrift shop sign in the center, and of course the wonderful shopping cart that's used out front to hold things, which again they say probably doesn't have that much curb. So the one at the top is one that's been decorated, the rest of them are no. No, it's not. It's just an example of another place. These are, if we go to the next one, and these are what plantings and landscaping and that feeling of signage and everything does, creates that ambiance that makes people say, hey, this looks like a great place to stop. Let's stop. And if you think about, just recently we did most of the length of 49. And it's really interesting when you've seen this to start looking at the towns as you go along 49 and saying, this is our competition, so to speak. And if people are traveling in the gold country, this is what they're looking at. So where are they going to stop? Where are they going to feel comfortable? What's going to pull them in? And so these are just examples. The next one is also, there are lots of organizations like Keep America Beautiful that help with this, provide grants and that sort of thing. But again, here are ways, they've got us up at the very corner there with the barrels and the priority realty sign with the look. But compared, it still looks very bare compared to some of the other street scenes that we see there. Okay. Then there's another, we also have another dubious distinction, being chain link fence capital of the gold country. And they're saying that chain link fences really only have a place in industrial sites and not on main streets and in commercial and residential areas. Their recommendations, for instance, is that the school, and actually after I saw this the chain link fence has parts of it are wrought iron. So they have some nice wrought iron fencing and then along the road, but it doesn't form a security barrier because they don't have any gates, but it just marks off their territory. The recommendation is think how much nicer it would look as people come down Main Street if that were all wrought iron fencing. And then, for instance, in front of the Angels preschool, if they put the cedar things through the fencing and just blocked off the playground, cleaned it up a little bit and made it look nicer, and also that cedar would be more in keeping with the community. So these are the kinds of private initiative ideas that they have. There's another rule that and things that they look for, and what draws us in first is the gateway. Is creating gateways and boundaries. And they felt that Angels Camp has a wonderful opportunity as you come down Main Street and you get right to the top of the hill. You know, so many people just go, oh, you know, because it is a cute little town, as we saw on the cover of the booklet, the starting slide. And they're suggesting that when you want to define an area, not only do you have that signage that says the historic shopping area, 2 miles ahead, 1 mile ahead, and that, but that you create some kind of entrance. And here are several that have been done. Some for pedestrian malls and others for streets. But they have statistics here about how much the business went up in those main streets when they put those gateway marcation there, signage. And it just creates a boundary, and it also creates the destination in that way. So a couple more on the next slide. You can see how they also put signage up, and whereas down at the bottom you'll see that's our Welcome to Angels Camp. This is the Lions, the Rotary, etc. Well, when you're driving by, all you sort of see is this, and none of them are hanging straight, and they're all over the place, and some of them are on the top of others. And of course, there's no place to stop to say, oh, I'm a Rotarian, I wonder when they meet. And you can't read them anyway from the car. And they have some suggestions on how you can incorporate that and make that really a valuable way of doing it. One of the things over in the lower left is how this is asphalt that's just been stamped, and that creates that walkway. And they said that their secret shoppers here in Angels Camp found it very intimidating on Highway 4 and 49. You know, it's scary to walk along the streets. It's scary to attempt to cross. The things that we do every day, unfortunately, are fairly safe. But so they're saying that in order to get people to stop and wander, you want them to feel that they can cross the street safely. And there are lots of ways that with low-cost ways that cities have done to mark off boundaries and pathways. So instead of just having those two lines that tell you that's a pedestrian walkway, there are other ways of doing it, through bricks or through concrete or these other colored things. And that tells people there's going to be a safe way for me to get across the street. On to the next. Here's some suggestions that they had in terms of, as you can look down Main Street, it would be a wonderful place for some sort of gateway signage that would say, here you are, this is Angels Camp, this is the historic part that matches with it. And they've shown how, I can't read the name of the town, Gig Harbor, and they put a very neat, near their parking lot where people enter and stop and visit. They put all their Rotarian and Lions Club signs together. They're neat, they're organized, it's easy to read. They don't have to just see them as they whiz by. There's another one done down in the lower left-hand corner, again, near an entrance. Another one of, I should mention that Roger Brooks has a book out. It's very reasonable, like $10 or something, called The 25 Immutable Rules of Successful Tourism. So he has a number of rules that he talks about, and one of them is real men don't ask for directions. Yeah. And in fact, most real tourists don't ask for directions. And so the key is to make it as easy as possible for people to find their way. We know how to get around Angels Camp, but the first-time visitor has no idea. Now, the first-time visitors are secret shoppers pulled down 49. First, they thought they were in Angels Camp when they were at Middleton's and the trailer park, because it said, "Welcome to Historic Angels Camp." Then they saw the Bargain Barrel and that whole area, thought they were in Angels Camp, and they came down to Murphy's Grave Road, and they saw this very wide right-hand lane with the big arrow telling you to turn right. And there's no other signs that say, this is Angels Camp, or keep going straight ahead or anything. So they figured, turn right, this must be the way to Angels Camp. But where does that take you? Another trailer park. I've always wondered why that lane was so wide, but I can't figure out. Nothing that tells you to keep going. The other thing they found was that the only signage in Angels Camp told you how to get out of Angels Camp. Copperopolis, Murphy's, Aurora, whatever. But not, here's Angels Camp, keep going. There's more to Angels Camp than just this. So they're saying that your signage has to be clear. You have to use it all over, and you also, you shouldn't be afraid to promote a business if that's your lure. If that's one of the best there is, if that's a very special business, promote that, because that's going to draw people in. They'll spend 20% of their time there, 80% of their time doing other things. So, some more signage. The museum. And I'm on the museum commission, so we took this with fully understanding what they were talking about. But up there in front of the Chevron sign is this little tiny sign that says museum, 1,000 feet or something, but at 500 feet, it doesn't tell you which side of the road. And it's very hard to see because there's all kinds of other signage, and there are weeds, and there's everything there. And so by the time if you even notice the sign, and they said they drove up and down the street 3 times before they saw the museum and before they saw the sign. The same things with the police department. This is something else we noticed when we were trying to get there one day, is you can't find the police department because there's this little tiny sign. And so these are other examples of how other cities have done this. And they're also saying that you have to, besides parking and toilets and restrooms and all of that and how to get around, you also have to plan for RVs parking, because RVs are, that's the way people are traveling these days, and they spend a lot of money when they get there, and they can carry it with them. So the key is, the next set of slides, here's some more samples of, I don't know where this is, North